I'd like to know, are there signs that you're working with a bad agent? One that I would not consider a realty expert.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. In our industry, maybe more so than other industries, there's such a wide skill discrepancy between the very best agents in town and the very worst agents in town.
Okay. Here he is, the one, the only John Brodeen. How are you, man?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Good. How's the family? How's the wife? How's the kid? All that stuff?
Yeah, really good.
Good.
She's gonna be 9 months old in like a week, or in less than a week here.
Yeah,
so. Yeah, it's crazy.
Starting to get into trouble yet?
A little bit, yeah. Definitely got to be more careful about what you leave out around her. She's getting into everything, climbing all over the place.
Pretty soon you're going to have to watch what you say and all that kind of stuff because they're magnets. But, I've always been wondering because when I talk to you guys, and I've had this talk with Adam last week about what is a realty expert. And after everything I have learned and everything you guys teach me pretty much every week, I'd like to know, are there signs that you're working with a bad agent? One that I would not consider a realty expert.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. In our industry, maybe more so than other industries, there's such a wide skill discrepancy between the very best agents in town and the very worst agents in town.
Okay.
A bad agent could be somebody who just doesn't sell enough houses, where they're just not in the rhythm of things and they haven't gained enough knowledge, don't have enough experience. They could have been licensed for 10 years, but they hardly do anything.
Sure.
They're just not as in tune with the market. You could have a new agent who hasn't developed that experience and expertise yet, but they're on their way there. And the funny thing is, the agents who have much less skills with real estate get paid the same,
if they sell a house.
If they sell a $300,000 house, they get paid pretty much, they charge the same, almost the same in most cases, as, one of the best agents in town. It's one of the biggest signs that you're working with an agent that isn't very confident, isn't very skilled, is they just agree with everything you say, and they never really give you any real advice. If they're just agreeing with everything you say and every idea you have, they say, "Oh, that's a great idea. I think you should do that."
Yeah, when the ones that are like, "Yep."
Yeah. It's probably because they either don't know or they don't know well enough to have the confidence to say, "Hey, I don't think that would be best based on what you told me and what your plan is and what you're trying to accomplish. I think you should do this instead of that."
Yeah, and I think you nailed it right there when you said the word confidence.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, until you are confident enough to say something like, I don't agree with that. Maybe we should. But yeah, and that takes time.
Yeah, it does take time, and you have to develop knowledge. You have to be able to communicate your knowledge effectively. That you could be really, really knowledgeable and really smart about real estate, but if you can't communicate it in a way that the client's going to understand and they're going to be able to take what you're giving them and make the right decisions, that's another skill in itself. But yeah, somebody who's only like the best thing they can do for you is just show up and open doors. That's like a minimum wage job. They shouldn't be getting paid as much as they're getting paid.
Sure.
If that's the only value they provide. Being able to write up a contract, without making any huge mistakes, maybe that's a little bit higher skill, but that's still relatively low. They're hiring you for your advice, not just for you to be able to check the boxes and open doors for them and be able to fill out blanks on a contract in buyer's case. And so, what you'll find when you work with an experienced, really expert agent is they're going to be able to have those tough conversations with you, and they know they've listened to you. They've asked you the right questions. They know what you're trying to accomplish, and then they're able to give you advice on how to help you accomplish those things. So if they don't ask you if they don't ask you the right questions, if they don't listen to you, that's another sign that you're not working with a very good person. And the other thing is when you're working with a less successful, less experienced, lower producing agent, they might just say what they need to say in order to get a deal together.
Sure.
Maybe
they're just going to tell you what you want to hear.
Yeah. Maybe by the time you need to sell this thing, they're going to be out of the real estate business anyway.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't even know it yet. But they're more in it. In some cases, they might be more in it for the paycheck, whereas somebody like me or another full-time agent who's been in this for the long haul and they're going to be in it for more, decades into the future. I want my person if they're buying a home, to make a smart decision, because I know they're going to call me up, whether it's in 5 years or in 7 years or in 10 years to sell this place. And I want to be able to have given them good advice so that they can get a great result when they go to sell it. If I just told them what they wanted to hear and got them into the first thing they looked at and said, oh yeah, that's a great investment. You buy this house in this crappy neighborhood and you put $100,000 worth of renovations into it, that's going to work out great. And then they call me up to sell it 3 years later. Some plans have changed, and I have to tell them that, oh yeah, out of that $100,000 you spent, we're only able to sell it for $30,000 more than what you paid for it based on the comps because of the neighborhood and the type of house it is. That's why you need to give people proper advice, because it's a lifelong relationship. I'm their real estate expert. I'm their real estate agent. They're going to call me whenever they need anything. I need to give them good advice. Some examples of some of the tough conversations that good agents have that a less confident, less experienced agent probably won't have is, like, if a buyer sees a house that they really want and they want to write up an offer on it, and the buyer says, yeah, I think I want to come in, $20,000 low. Meanwhile, the house is priced really well. It's super attractive. It's probably getting a ton of showings, and it's only 2 days on market. The less experienced agent is probably going to have a hard time telling them, like, hey, listen, inventory is super low. If you want a chance at this house, you probably need to come in closer to, like, this price, not that price. Whereas the less experienced agent, they're just like, okay, sure, I'll write it up for that amount. And then they lose it, and they lose a whole bunch, and they're not getting any advice on how they need to be writing their offers to actually be able to get this house they're in love with, versus a good agent, is going to be willing to tell them that. Like we talked about earlier, another thing is, like, if somebody has plans to do a fixer-upper, a good agent is going to have the market knowledge to know which houses have some opportunity and some potential, especially based on the neighborhood, based on the comps. They're going to do that research, and they're going to tell you, if this house is going to be a good one for what you want to do to it, or if it's not going to be a good investment to put that much into it. Somebody who doesn't know is probably just going to say, yeah, that sounds like a great idea every time, and you could be making a bad decision because you're not getting any advice. You're just you're hearing an echo chamber. And, if you're just a home buyer who's looking to buy a fixer upper, you're not the real estate expert, and you don't really have a real estate expert on your side helping you. So what value are you getting? You're paying this agent, whether you know it or not, you're paying this agent a lot. When you're buying a house, even though it's coming out of the seller's proceeds, the buyer agent commission, so you're not paying it out of your pocket, it's still getting paid out of the money that you're giving to the seller. And you want to get every dollar's worth of value out of that.
I want to talk just for a second. I hate to interrupt you, but when it comes to part-time agents, I know some, they have full-time jobs, and then they're doing the realty thing on the side, but I couldn't imagine, because how much I know you guys put into what you do. I couldn't imagine that these people must not get any sleep at all, because if they're going to a full-time job, and I'm sure there are still a few people out there that can handle doing both, but I couldn't imagine, because even if you're not showing a house or something like that, you guys are always crunching numbers. You're doing research. You guys are doing stuff all the time. Do you imagine having another full-time job and trying to do this too?
I couldn't imagine doing that. I can name a couple of agents off the top of my head that have different full-time jobs and that are very good real estate agents.
Okay.
Literally 2 that come to mind right now in Grand Forks. But the funny thing is, this will probably give it away who I'm thinking of, but they're both teachers, so they don't work. They don't have to work during the summer. And, they're somebody where if I wasn't an agent and I would be comfortable working with them. They're up
and
there.
They've been doing it for a while.
They've been doing it for a while, and they have the time during the summer when things are the most busy. So they've kind of got it figured out. But as far as the majority of agents who have a different job, that's a huge red flag.
I couldn't. It'd be tough.
It's tough. You're not in the real estate world 24/7. You have work to get done at your other job. How are you possibly researching the market, responding quickly to your clients? How are you doing all of the duties of a full-time real estate agent? It just doesn't add up. And the thing is, maybe they have time to handle 10 transactions a year, let's say. Let's be generous. Well, doing 10 transactions a year compared to an agent who's doing 30 or 40 transactions a year, you're just not seeing enough transactions. You're not in the office developing relationships with the agents. You're probably not able to communicate with the other agents. You're not as involved in the agent community. So you just don't have those relationships and that time in that other people do have.
So basically all of you realty experts at Berkshire Hathaway, this is a 24/7 thing.
Yeah, it kind of is.
I know you guys, because if I was to call you, if I was one of your clients, I know darn well I could probably call you on a Saturday night at 9 o'clock, and I'm guessing you'd probably answer the phone. I mean, just knowing you like I do.
Yep. And, as that's another interesting point, when you are a full-time agent, you're busy, you do have to try to set those boundaries a little bit.
Right.
It's like if I say, I can't talk right now on the phone, but I can still answer questions via text, or I'll set up a time. I can call you in 30 minutes. I'm with my family right now, but I can.
And so that's all they need to hear.
Yep.
It's like, wow, he did answer, and he's going to get back to me.
It's not an option just to ghost somebody for not respond to them for a day and a half. That just isn't how things work in this business. You have to always be there for your people. Some other tough conversations. You have tough conversations with both buyers and sellers. Sellers, it matters. We were talking about how much it matters when you're a buyer to get the right advice. It matters probably even more to get the right advice when you're a seller, because the consequences are so much worse if you screw things up, because you only really get one shot at it when you're selling a home. You're only going to be a brand new listing once. If you screw it up the first time, your marketing, your pricing, your staging, your home preparation is not good. When you do it the second time around, it's not going to have the same pop in the market than when the first time that house hits the market.
And I would imagine if things didn't go good, there's a lot of realtors in this town, and I would imagine the word gets out pretty quick.
Yeah, and amongst the real estate agent community, we know who's good.
Sure.
First off, sometimes these less experienced, less knowledgeable agents, the one thing that I noticed personally is they're so much more emotionally invested in the deal, because they really want that paycheck, and they want to try to look like a superhero, but they really don't know what they're doing that much. The agents who are really good, they still battle for their clients, but it's never like personal, it's never emotional. It's their job, and they're just like, they care more about keeping the relationship good between me and this other agent, more than just trying to look like a hero and blowing stuff up and blowing things out of proportion and freaking out and getting emotional. That's one of the things I appreciate about working with some of the really good agents in town, is they're just smooth and easy to work with. Even when there are disagreements and there's disputes, it's never personal. It's never a big blow up thing.
And it's funny too, because you guys remember your clients. One of your lenders, who I bought my house from 18 years ago, I ran into him about a month ago.
Oh yeah.
He remembered me. He remembered where we lived. He remembered what I did for a living. And it's like, oh my goodness, I haven't seen you for 18 years. And it's like they remember that stuff because, but that's like you said, you get in good with the people. You want them to remember you, because it might not be the first time you buy or sell a house for them.
Yep, exactly. And you're a part of a pretty big thing in their life. So you own that, it's not just a get them in, get them out, type of sales transaction. It's not like I'm selling something that somebody buys once a month. I'm selling something, or not even selling something, but I'm working with people on a transaction that they make maybe only a few times throughout their life.
So might even be once.
It's a big deal.
It sure is.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. That it?
Yeah. I mean, I
learned more.
Yeah, definitely.
You ever think about like teaching at the U on, Realty 101 or anything?
I wouldn't mind doing something like that someday. That sounds like kind of fun.
How does somebody get a hold of realty expert John Brodeen?
So follow me on all the socials. I'm posting content all the time. If you want to become a client or you want to ask me a question, 701-213-5428 is my cell phone number. Call or text me on that anytime.
And we will see you in a couple of days?
Yes. Yep.
All right. There we go. That's your Berkshire Hathaway biweekly podcast. Realty expert John Brodeen in the studio. He will be back again Friday morning about 10 o'clock. All right. Till then, have yourself a great night.